Japanese whiskey used to be the quiet kid in the corner. Now it owns half the conversation in American bars. But with the hype came confusion. Real Japanese distilleries, new craft players, imports disguised with cherry blossom labels, and price tags that could make a grown man whisper, "Bro, seriously?" So today we're ranking 15 Japanese whiskey brands from worst to best based on flavor, authenticity, drinkability, and how much the bottle actually deserves your money. Let's start at number 15, the one that looks spiritual but tastes stressed. 15. Hibiki. Hibiki bottles are beautiful. The story's beautiful. The marketing is beautiful. The whiskey tries its best. It leans heavily on its yakusugi, cedar wood finishing, which sounds mystical until you realize the wood note does most of the talking while the whiskey quietly sits in the back like a shy student hoping not to be called on. To be fair, Hibiki isn't offensive. It's smooth enough and has this incense-like sweetness that feels unique at first sip. But the more you drink, the more the charm fades and you start wondering, is the cedar masking the whiskey or rescuing it? The body's thin, the finish disappears quickly, and the price sits higher than the complexity justifies. For a US drinker, this is the bottle you buy once because the label feels like a story, not because the liquid earns a return trip. Cool presentation, forgettable pour. 14. Toguchi. Toguchi has one of the coolest backstories in the industry. It's aged in an old railway tunnel tucked into the mountains of Hiroshima, giving the brand this mysterious underground vibe. But here's the catch. Most of the whiskey inside the bottle isn't actually distilled in Japan. It's imported, then aged and blended locally. Nothing wrong with that, but it explains why the whiskey feels more international blend than Japanese craftsmanship. Flavor-wise, Toguchi is light, grain-forward, and just a little too young around the edges. There's sweetness at the front, a puff of pepper in the middle, and then silence. It doesn't offend, but it doesn't speak up either. For US buyers browsing shelves filled with real Japanese single malts, Toguchi tastes like a bottle trying to belong to a category it never fully grows into. Not terrible, just not worth the premium when authenticity and depth are part of the ranking. 13. Kurayoshi, pure malt. Kurayoshi is a perfect example of a whiskey that tastes good, just not what they charge for it good. The pure malt line has a pleasant sherry-kissed sweetness, floral aromas, and a soft texture that feels inviting. But that's the trap. After a few sips, the balance starts leaning too heavily on sweetness, and the finish pulls back before anything memorable appears. Part of the reason is its structure. Kurayoshi blends Japanese malt with imported malt whiskey, then matures it in Japan. The result is smooth, approachable, and gentle, but not always cohesive. It's like two good ideas that never fully merge into one clear personality. For American drinkers, the biggest issue is value. At the price point, you expect richer depth or stronger identity. Instead, Kurayoshi plays it safe. Too safe for a market filled with bolder, more expressive options. Nice whiskey, wrong tier for the cost. 12. Suntory Kikuben. Kikuben is a cultural monument in Japan. It's the backbone of countless highballs, izakaya nights, and after-work rituals. But here's the truth US drinkers usually discover fast. This whiskey wasn't built to shine neat, it was built to mix beautifully. Neat, Kikuben is light, grainy, and extremely straightforward. There's a soft vanilla sweetness, a touch of malt, and a dry, quiet finish. Nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't have the richness American whiskey fans usually look for in a sipping pour. Add soda though, the whole thing transforms. Suddenly it's crisp, bright, refreshing, and exactly what the brand intended. It's the whiskey equivalent of someone who looks average in selfies but incredible in person. As a US purchase, Kikuben earns its spot for versatility and price, just not for complexity. Great highball partner, simple sipper, legendary reputation for a reason. 11. Suntory Toki. Toki is the bottle that introduced half of America to Japanese whiskey. Light, friendly, and designed to be mixed. It's the one you'll see behind bars from LA to New York. And that's because it does exactly what Suntory built it to do. deliver a smooth, accessible whiskey that anyone can enjoy without overthinking. Flavor-wise, Toki leans citrusy and clean, with soft grain sweetness and a very gentle finish. It's not layered or deep, but it doesn't pretend to be. This is the whiskey you hand someone who says, "I don't usually like whiskey," and watch them change their mind once it hits a tall glass of ice and soda. Neat, it's polite to a fault, almost too polite, but in cocktails and highballs, it's a consistent, refreshing performer. For US drinkers, Toki is a reliable entry point, just not the bottle you reach for when you want the wow moment Japanese whiskey is famous for. If you're enjoying the countdown, hit like and subscribe. I break down spirits the same way. No hype, no bias, just honest taste. And if your favorite bottle hasn't shown up yet, trust me, things are about to get interesting. Drop your top 3 in the comments. 10. Akashi White Oak. Akashi is one of those bottles people overlook because it doesn't scream for attention. No flashy samurai artwork, no mystical forest backstory, just a humble coastal distillery, Igushima, doing real work. And honestly, that understatement fits the whiskey perfectly. Akashi White Oak isn't trying to be the center of the party. It's the friend who doesn't talk much but drops a surprisingly good joke every now and then. The flavor leans warm and slightly sweet, with honey, soft oak, and a mild spice note that creeps in just enough to keep things interesting. It does have a youthful edge, but not in a messy way, more like a clean, bright snap at the finish. Nothing here feels artificial or unfocused. Where Akashi truly shines is honesty. It tastes like what it costs. In a category filled with bottles priced like luxury handbags, that honesty is refreshing. For US drinkers wanting something genuinely Japanese without sacrificing rent money, Akashi delivers more authenticity and charm than many bottles twice the price. 9. Mars EY 45. Mars is the brand everyone respects but somehow forgets to talk about, which is wild considering how consistent their whiskey is. EY 45 in particular hits this sweet spot between affordability and surprising depth. It isn't pretending to be a delicate floral single malt. It leans in the opposite direction, warmer, fuller, more bourbon adjacent. And that's exactly why so many US drinkers end up loving it. You get caramel, toasted grain, and a gentle smokiness that feels like someone added character without adding aggression. The higher proof carries the flavors well, giving you a big, satisfying sip without turning harsh. It's not a study the glass for 20 minutes whiskey. It's a relax after work and enjoy the flavor whiskey. The beauty of EY 45 is how approachable it is. If someone loves American whiskey but feels intimidated by the softer, subtler Japanese style, this bottle acts like a bridge. It respects its heritage while speaking a language bourbon fans understand. Solid, honest, and wildly good for the price. 8. Fuji Gatemba. Fuji is the brand most Americans don't see often, but when they do, they're shocked it's not already a household name. Kirin's Fuji Gatemba distillery sits in the shadow of Mount Fuji, and the whiskey mirrors that environment. Cool, crisp, clean, and incredibly balanced. This is one of the most refined without being precious bottles in the entire mid-tier category. The flavor profile opens with soft orchard fruit, peach and pear, then drifts into honey, light vanilla, and a whisper of spice. Nothing leans too heavily in one direction. The whole experience feels like a smooth gradient instead of a series of punches. That consistency is what elevates it. Fuji has this polished quality you normally only find in higher-priced blends. It doesn't try to shock you or reinvent anything. It just nails the fundamentals with almost clinical precision. In the US market, where availability is still spotty, finding Fuji feels like discovering a secret brand that should cost much more than it does. 7. Nikka Coffee Grain. Nikka Coffee Grain is the bottle that makes bourbon lovers go, "Oh, I didn't know Japanese whiskey could taste like this." It's rich, dessert-leaning, and unapologetically sweet, but in a sophisticated way. Because it's made from grain whiskey distilled in coffee stills, it carries this smooth, creamy texture that feels almost like a pastry filling wrapped in warm oak. You get caramel, vanilla cream, gentle spice, a bit of corn sweetness, and a long, silky finish that's incredibly satisfying. It's the kind of whiskey that doesn't need an explanation. One sip and you understand exactly what it's trying to do. The only reason it lands at number 7 is that it's not as complex as the true heavyweights ahead of it. Coffee grain hits a mood, not a spectrum. But when it hits hard. In the US, it's one of the most approachable Japanese whiskeys for newcomers, especially those coming from American whiskey. Smooth, warm, lovable. This bottle never misses its audience. 6. Nikka From the Barrel. This is the bottle that made half of YouTube whiskey reviewers suddenly fall in love with Nikka. From the Barrel is bold, punchy, and packed with character. It doesn't care about being delicate or whispery. It shows up with a full chest and says, "Let's do this properly." And for a high-proof blend, it's remarkably balanced. The flavor hits fast. Spice, oak, dark fruit, caramel, roasted nuts, and a warm finish that goes on long enough to feel like a short conversation. There's real depth here, the kind you rarely see at this price point. It feels handcrafted, intentional, and confident without drifting into harsh territory. For US drinkers, this is one of the best value bottles in the entire Japanese whiskey world. It tastes like something that should cost significantly more. It works neat, it works with a drop of water, and it works for people who want a whiskey that actually says something instead of quietly existing. Strong character, strong value, strong reason to land this high. 5. Miyagikyo. Miyagikyo is the quiet sibling in the Nikka family, the one who doesn't raise its voice but somehow still controls the room. This is Nikka's Mountain Valley single malt, surrounded by mist, greenery, and clean river air, and the whiskey reflects that environment almost perfectly. It's light on the surface but layered underneath in a way that rewards slow sipping. The flavor opens with soft fruit, pear, apricot, maybe a hint of melon, then moves into floral notes, gentle spice, and just the slightest touch of smoke that acts more like a shadow than a statement. Nothing here is aggressive. Everything is intentional, balanced, and almost graceful. What makes Miyagikyo stand out is its clarity. It knows exactly what it wants to be. Smooth, refined, and drinkable without sacrificing personality. For US drinkers who lean towards smooth Speyside style single malts or lighter bourbons, this bottle is a natural fit. It's elegant without being fragile, flavorful without being loud, and one of the most charming introductions to true Japanese single malt craftsmanship. 4. Yochi. Yochi is the opposite of Miyagikyo, and Nikka designed it that way. This is the rugged, coastal, smoke-driven expression born on the northern island of Hokkaido, where the cold wind and salty air shape everything around them. If Miyagikyo is a flute, Yochi is a taiko drum. It hits harder, speaks louder, and refuses to blend into the background. The first thing you notice is the peat, not the medicinal blast of a sleigh, but a drier, smokier, more restrained Japanese interpretation. Then comes brine, malt sweetness, hints of oak, and a rich, oily texture that feels almost old school. Yochi tastes traditional in a way that feels deliberate, like a nod to early Scottish methods, but filtered through Japanese discipline. What elevates Yoichi into the top tier is how confidently it executes its style. It doesn't try to please everyone. It aims for a specific drinker, someone who appreciates smoke, structure, and complexity, and it nails that target. For US whiskey fans who crave flavor with backbone, Yoichi is the bottle that proves Japanese whiskey doesn't have to be gentle to be great. 3. Hakushu. Hakushu is where Japanese whiskey starts feeling almost cinematic. Made in Suntory's forest distillery tucked into the mountains, it's the closest thing you can drink that genuinely tastes like the environment it comes from. Fresh, green, bright, and slightly smoky, Hakushu delivers a sensory experience that feels both relaxing and energizing at the same time. Every sip starts with crisp freshness, mint, cucumber, green apple, and then rolls into citrus peel, light malt sweetness, and a gentle wisp of smoke that arrives like a breeze cutting through dense trees. It's not peaty in the heavy sense. It's airy, lifted, and incredibly well-structured. The balance is what earns it universal respect. Hakushu is the kind of whiskey that feels handcrafted for quiet nights, thoughtful sipping, and slow appreciation. but it's also friendly enough that even newcomers can enjoy it. In the US, the only downside is availability and price. When it shows up, it disappears fast. But the moment you taste it, you understand why. Hakushu feels alive in the glass, and few whiskeys capture that same natural purity. 2. Hibiki. Hibiki isn't just a whiskey, it's an argument for blending as a high art form. This is Suntory's crown jewel, built from multiple malt and grain whiskeys aged in a mix of casks, including Mizunara, sherry, and American oak. And the result is one of the smoothest, most harmonious flavor profiles in the entire category. From the nose to the finish, everything flows. You get honey, soft fruit, sandalwood, delicate spice, floral aromatics, and that unmistakable smoothness Hibiki is known for. Nothing is sharp, nothing is out of place. The transitions are so seamless, it almost feels unfair to compare it to other blends. It's elegance in liquid form. What keeps Hibiki just shy of the #1 spot is simple. It prioritizes harmony over depth. It's incredible, but it doesn't have the same dramatic evolution or emotional weight as the best single malts. Still, for US drinkers, Hibiki is the ultimate gift bottle, the one that impresses anyone, whiskey fan or not. It's beauty, precision, and sophistication in a single iconic package. 1. Yamazaki. Yamazaki is the bottle that changed the world's perception of Japanese whiskey. This is Japan's first modern distillery, and to this day it still sets the standard. Every expression, from the 12 to the 18 and beyond, carries that signature depth. Rich fruit, sandalwood, incense, layered oak, and a finish that unfolds slowly like turning pages in a story. What makes Yamazaki #1 isn't hype, it's craftsmanship. The distillery uses multiple still shapes, diverse cast types, including the legendary Mizunara oak, and incredibly precise blending. The result is whiskey that doesn't just taste good, it feels meaningful. There's weight, nuance, and evolution in every sip. Yamazaki is the bottle you give someone when you want to show them what Japanese whiskey is capable of at its highest level. US drinkers may struggle with price and availability, but the moment it hits the glass, you understand why it dominates competitions and commands global respect. It's not just the best Japanese whiskey on this list. It's one of the best whiskeys, period. So that's the full ranking, from cedar-scented experiments to the king of Japanese single malts. Some bottles earned their hype, others relied on it. Now it's your turn. Drop your top 3 in the comments and tell me which one I got wrong. And if you want more honest, hype-free rankings like this, hit subscribe. We're just getting started.